This is Danny Brown. Welcome back to my podcast, The Deal. It's end of summer, August, and everything after August 2022. The market's transitioning a bit, but inventory's still way down and it's really hard to pinpoint what's going on. But today's guest to lead off season 5 is Anthony Marguleas. He is the founder of Amalfi Estates. It's a boutique brokerage. They focus on Palisades, Brentwood, Little Santa Monica. He's super smart, analytical, finance sort of guy, like really takes a professional approach. He wants every one of his team members, there's 8 of them, to do $1 million GCI each year. So everyone is super productive. It's sort of the antithesis of the smoke and mirror teams that we see throughout the business. So you can always find Anthony at amalfiestates.com. He's also on Facebook and LinkedIn. But I look forward to getting into it with him and getting into some fundamentals. School is in session. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe and let your people know. The Deal with Danny Brown on YouTube, Apple, and anywhere else, Spotify, anywhere else you consume your content. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Season 5 of The Deal. Special guest today, Anthony Marguleas from Amalfi Estates. Good to see you. How are you?
Good, Danny. It's Marguleas. It's a hard one.
Oh, Marguleas. Let's do that again.
It's a hard one. I should have prepped you.
You should have prepped me. I blew it already. Anthony Marguleas, welcome.
No one messes up Brown. At least if they do, there's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, Brown, I don't know. I think it was Barone. But welcome back. We're in late August 2022. August and everything after. We're going to get into a lot of stuff. You've created Amalfi Estates, I don't know, was it 25, 35 years ago? A long time ago.
I had a full head of hair. I had hair like you did when I started. That's how long ago.
Well, mine's falling out fast. Well, we're going to get into your building of Amalfi Estates because now the trend has been, build a team and build out your own brokerage within a brokerage. But this was something that you were doing and executing on before people were even calling them teams. So we'll get into that. But before we get into that, let's start with just your intro, where you grew up, where you went to school, what your parents did, kind of from being born to starting Amalfi Estates.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot. Well, I don't like talking. I'm a weird realtor. I don't like talking about myself. So
we'll give you 2 minutes to give us your life.
I grew up in LA. My parents were from the desert, Palm Springs area. I went to college at UC Riverside, getting a grad degree in real estate development and finance at USC, and started real estate, Amalfi Estates 29 years ago. And prior to that, I had a real estate development company and a mortgage company. So I had a real estate development company for 4 years and then had a mortgage company for 10 years during the same time I had my brokerage. And and that's the background in a 30-second.
That's 40 years in 30 seconds?
That's it.
So tell me, let me dive into some of the stuff. So you went to grad school for real estate development.
Right. Real estate development and finance through the Master's in Real Estate Development program at USC. And then at UC Riverside, I was a business history major. And I actually, at the time, this is interesting, I never worked for a real estate company. So ever. So I didn't know what I didn't know. I started my company, and at the time you could do that. So I literally had to ask someone, where do I get the contracts? They go to local board of realtors. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go to local board of realtors. I had when I say I was green, I had no idea what I was doing. I taught myself the 4 different MLSs. I flew to the first year you had to do 20 hours of continuing education. I did 200 hours. I flew to 5 different states. I got my CRS, my LTG, my ABR, all this alphabet soup, which no one really cares or knows about. But yeah, so I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a mentor to know what I was doing. So.
But you knew you had some passion or interest in real estate because you spent time in school getting a master's in development.
Well, no, I started getting the master's in probably 8 to 10 years after I started my real estate company. So, but no, I liked real estate. It was the development was fun. We built a bunch of homes, but I really enjoyed. And the mortgage brokers it was a good background, having the finance background. But I really enjoyed. Look, I think the best analogy, it's 90% of real estate agents, 90% of mortgage brokers or lenders can go become real estate agents. Only 10% of real estate agents can go become mortgage brokers because it's a different mentality, right? I mean, you got to know numbers and finance and a lot more stress being a mortgage broker. I mean, you forget to, you don't lock in their rate or you don't get them approved but as a real estate agent, you never get gifts as a mortgage broker. As a real estate agent, clients actually give you gifts.
They actually say thanks.
Say thank you.
I'm going to speed through this and jump into Amalfi Estates, but I do want to know, you were building in LA residential homes?
Yeah, residential in the San Fernando Valley.
San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. We built in Northridge and Reseda right before the Northridge earthquake. So our second project finished. 3 months later, the Northridge earthquake happened, and I said, I want to get out of development.
You're like, get me into brokerage. All right, so we're going to start. Amalfi Estates. This was in the mid-90s?
Yeah, 93, 94 is when I started it.
So when you started Amalfi Estates, is it just you, Anthony, or you and an assistant?
No, it was myself, and it was actually called AM Realty. It was my initial.
That's right. I remember.
It was this hokey little logo. If you look back, there was literally a picture of the sun setting, and I think I drew it myself. It was so bad, and it wasn't professional, and we were buyers only. So we were buyers only.
And was Dan Urbach? Was Dan Urbach?
Dan Urbach was, yeah.
I remember when I started in real estate back in 2001. It was Dan Urbach and you, and buyers only representation.
So Dan was a top agent at our company, and we had a lot of fun. And Dan said, I think we should take listings. I'm like, no, I like buyers only. So a week after he left, I'm like, I think Dan was right. I think we should probably take listings. So we rebranded. This is probably 20 years ago. To Amalfi Estates, did more high-end luxury brand, and did full service. I actually referred out probably $100 million in listings before I was a full service broker. Never asked for a referral fee because I thought it was a conflict of interest. I know, crazy as it was. But
you were thanks. You didn't hand me one.
I didn't know you at the time. I mean, come on.
Just give the poor kid a shot. Give him something.
I know.
All right. So mid-90s, you started buyers only. It's the end of the market, was the bottom of the market then after the earthquake. So now you start building it up. And about the 2000s or early 2000s, Dan Urbach.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things I did were kind of interesting. Like you always, it's always good. Like, there's 100 ways to be successful in this business, Danny. I mean, you've interviewed, 70 different top brokers and business leaders, and there's no two alike, right? So before I even started selling, before I even sold my first house, I hired an assistant. So I realized 90% of what we do, an assistant can do. The other thing I did is I got on the cover of Homes and Open Houses and Caravan Express magazine, which at the time, is a weekly publication in Los Angeles that Homes and Open Houses, I don't think is still around, but Caravan Express is. And I go, I'm going to reserve the cover, right? And so people think, you get the perception, reality, becomes reality. So people go, wow, you're really successful, and you're on the cover of this magazine. I never sold a house before. That's a secret. Don't tell anyone. We're not going to share that. That's our secret. I never sold a house before, and I'm on the cover of a magazine.
Great. Superstar. That's our business in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's our business in a nutshell.
All right, so walk me through the growth, the pains, because there had to be a lot of challenges, but the growth, because now Amalfi is a boutique, but it's a very big boutique.
We're not a big boutique. There's 8 agents at Amalfi Estates. We do a lot of volume. So we did close to $500 million in sales last year, representing 184 families. So we did $474 million with 8 agents on a team. Our model is different than a lot of teams. So we're not the Marguleas team for a reason. People are working for Amalfi Estates, but they have the benefit and the support of a team behind them. So it's a hybrid model. Agents can get up to 80% splits based on the productivity. So it's based on the number of transactions that they do. It's not dollar value. If someone sells one $10 million house, good for them, but that's not going to get them the highest splits. I'd rather they sell 10 $500,000 condos, because it's all transactional based. So that's a little bit, how we.
So you guys are doing a lot of volume for eight people for LA West Side.
A lot of volume. So we have minimum levels of production, Danny. So just to stay in our company, you have to do a minimum of 12 transactions a year, just to stay on the team and stay in the company. And our average agent is doing between 15 and 20 transactions every year. So
you have highly productive agents.
very, very productive. Yeah.
That's 2022. Walk me through the challenges of getting to this point. Because I got to imagine at some point when you started bringing on team members.
Oh, Danny, we didn't have any challenges. What do you mean? Challenges? What are challenges? Come on. Yeah, the hard part is really finding good quality people. And look, I've made so many mistakes. I could write a book of all the mistakes that I've made. And we're always learning. We're every day. I'm still passionate. I mean, I run into agents as you do who've been in real estate 20 years that burn out. They're like, they got this Linus towel, right, from Charlie Brown, and they're like, wah, wah, wah. And the glass is half empty. I'm like, look, if you don't have passion for this business and you're not excited, you shouldn't be in it, right? I mean, we have the best job in the world. We're helping people with the largest investment. This is exciting stuff. So what I've learned after many, many, many years of hiring people, we look for agents that are hungry. We look for agents that are humble. And we look for agents that are coachable. And those are the three qualities. And you can't teach those qualities. You can't. And coachable. You can't teach them. Yeah. I mean, we'll get agents that are really successful, but they're not humble. They're not a good fit for our company. We give 10% of our commission to charity. I don't know if you knew that, but it's a big part of our mission statement, Danny. We were very, very fortunate last year alone. Our 8 agents gave $500,000 to charity and helped 20,000 families through our charitable initiative. And over the last 6 years, we've given $2 million to charity. So we're very, very fortunate that we have the opportunity to do that. We have 6 charity partners. We let our client pick which of the 6 charity partners they want to give to. And so, a lot of agents, if they're not humble and they just care about the money, they may not be a great fit for our culture or our team.
Yeah. So the obvious question that I think about when you were a top producer doing your thing, starting your company. Why did you stay independent and do it just without a big company behind you? What do you think the benefits were? Is it just obvious that, hey, I don't want to split?
I mean, I'd like to say I didn't learn bad habits because I looked at real estate having no understanding of how it worked. So I've never cold called. I've never door knocked. I've never, it wasn't, I've talked more people out of buying and selling homes than the 1,500 clients we've successfully helped. So, it's a little bit of a different, it's more of a consultant. I know you're the same way, right? If agents are just after the commission, they don't really last that long. Clients can kind of see through that. But what I did is about 5 years ago, I hired a coach, a fantastic company, and there's a lot of great coaching companies out there. We hired Workman Success Systems, Burl Workman and his team. And basically, I was turning down a lot of business because I just focused on the Palisades, Brentwood, and a little bit of Santa Monica. And so he said, look, why don't you grow your team and you can start mentoring new agents? You're turning down business, Anthony, grow your team. You could mentor them. So my big why now, because we've been mentoring and hiring agents, is that each agent on our team does $1 million GCI. So I'll repeat that. Each agent on our team, $1 million GCI, which is $40 million a year in production. That's our goal. Because I want them to have financially rewarding lives. I want them to be financially successful. And we have the systems in place that they can do $40 million a year, which most teams, that's what the team leader does. That's what the whole team does. To say that each agent on our team, the goal is 40 million. Right now, half of our agents are on track, our sales partners, to do $1 million GCI. So it's a different structure that we've set up. It's about accountability. It's about really making them be successful. So the 2 main goals, Danny, is to each agent on the team does $1 million gross commission income, not take home, but gross commission income. And the second thing is that I want to give as much as I can back to charity. So those are my 2 big whys. And that's what gets me out of bed every morning.
Well, that is so pure, because in this world of teams, as you know, it's so much smoke and mirrors. And like you said, most team leaders, the whole team will do 40 or 50 million in production, and they may have 10 or 20 or 30, who knows. Why I wanted to bring up this team topic is you've been executing it like truly a pure team and building people up. And clearly you've taken it now to a whole nother level. Well, you're saying you want everyone being at the top of the game, making $1 million GCI. And
Yeah. I mean, the difference, Danny, is that a lot of teams, and you know them in LA, they're 150 person teams. They're like small companies. And the average agent on that team is doing 1 or 2 deals a year. And so we're doing our 8-person team is doing the same numbers as a 100-person team or close to it. So it's just a different model. It's a different mentality. We partnered with Side about 3 years ago.
Yes, tell me about that.
Yeah, Side's been great. So for people that don't know Side, they are a white label. They're a real estate support business, and they basically white label, and they allow a lot of agents to go start their own companies. So in some ways, I love Compass and I think they're great, but they have assimilated so many incredible brands, Pacific Union, Partners Trust, and they kind of stripped a little of the core values and a little of the culture and the cool specialness, putting them under the Compass umbrella. Side has created 600 companies that never existed before. So agents say they're Sotheby's or Coldwell or Remax or Keller Williams, and they say, I want to go out on my own. And Side will they'll help them brand them. They'll create their name. They'll help them with their marketing and their E&O insurance and their CRM and their commission, making the commission, everything other than helping people buy and sell a house. That's what Side does. And they go after the top 4% of agents in the business. And they've helped us out a lot. They've been a great partner. They're currently, I think, in the top 3 or top 4 real estate companies in the country, but no one's heard of them because they fly under the radar. And they're really about supporting and building other agents to really go out on their own, which 20 years ago was unheard of. No one did that. It was only Coldwell. It was John Douglas, Coldwell, Berkshire wasn't even, it was Prudential. Yeah, Fred Sands, Prudential. It was like they literally controlled the market. And no one had ever heard of. And then the agency started, and then, you saw these small companies. TELUS started up, but they got gobbled up. Rodeo is still around. Rodeo Realty is doing strong with Sid. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, the evolution of the business, and with Side, the trend of top producers going out on their own and building their name and their brand, and Side plugging in. And I know there's a few other companies similar stuff. You were doing it on your own though for so many years, and obviously there must be some value here that you felt, hey, this is a great partnership for you and where you are in your business today.
Yeah, they take care of a lot of the heavy lifting. So I was always updating our website. I was doing a lot of our marketing, and so that is taken off my plate. They have a great legal department and broker of record, so a lot of my team can go to them if they have questions. And it takes stuff off our plate, so I can really focus on the mentoring of our agents. So that's a little bit
Tell
about
me, you are mentoring agents. You've been through a huge, long career of success, but tell me about some of the advice you would give to agents that are growing their business, that are trying to get to that 40, 50 million, and they're starting, or they're a couple of years in, or they're 10 years in, struggling. Sure. What would some of the advice you'd give?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm shocked at how many real estate agents don't own real estate. So I don't care where you buy it. I mean, it's very expensive on the west side of Los Angeles, Danny, as you know. But I mean, you could buy a house anywhere for $200,000 in most parts of the country, right? Or buy a condo locally. But, buy real estate at an early age. I think California, unfortunately, 2 years ago became a renter state where more people are renting than they are owning. And the whole blue collar and middle class, the teachers and the nurses who retired on the equity in their homes, because they buy a home 30 years ago for $50,000 and then sell it for $1 million, and that's how they retire. Now they can't do that now because of affordability. So I would love to see more people in real estate buying real estate and owning real estate and investing in real estate. So I think that would be really, really important for them to do. I think to work for a top team or a top agent as an assistant and get a really good mentorship and really learn the business. 50% of the agents that are in the business for the last 11 years have never experienced a down market. 50% of the agents in the market have never experienced a down market. They don't know. They don't remember 2008 to 2011 when property values dropped 20%. Like they think the last 2 or 3 years is normal. They think last year, Danny, was arguably the best year in real estate in 30 years. By far, the best real estate in 30 years. It had the highest annual appreciation in history, the highest number of transactions in history, the lowest interest rates in history, the lowest days on market in history. And then like literally, give me an example. In the Palisades, $1 billion worth of homes sold in 2020. For the last 11 years, the average increase on almost every market in Los Angeles increased, the dollar volume of homes increased about 3% on average from one year to the next year. Not the appreciation, but the dollar volume of actual homes. From 2021 to 2020, it went up 82%. 82%. $1.8 billion worth of homes sold. And that's true with every single market pretty much in the country. So it's like running a 100-yard dash for the Olympics, and you got an 83-mile-an-hour tailwind behind you, and you wonder, you thought it was you.
Yeah, you thought this is such a great.
This is great. This is great. I'm loving this. So now sales are down 42%. I'm a high C on the DISC assessment. I love data. So sales are down 42%. 42% this year to date. So you take the first 225 days of this year compared to the first 225 days of last year in Los Angeles. Sales are down 42%.
Sales volume or transaction number?
Transactions.
So amount 40%. Every 10, there's 4 less.
Almost 50% less transactions are being sold because one, we really have an inventory problem. People thought we had an inventory problem last year, but by definition, since we had the largest number of homes ever selling, it was never an inventory problem. They just sold quicker. Now we really do have an inventory problem.
Yeah. So sales are down 40%. What are you seeing though on pricing, and what is your advice to buyers? First buyers, and then we'll go to the sellers.
It's a best time to be a buyer right now. The last 2 years, I felt bad for a lot of these new agents that were buyers agents because 30 offers, 40 offers, properties going for $1 million, $2 million over. You wouldn't even get a call back. You'd come in $1 million over, wouldn't even get a call back.
Right. And how do you explain that to your clients? What did you do?
Number one property I wrote on, I had 56 offers. I mean, it was like, and what that tells you, there's another 50 that didn't want to even get involved.
Yeah. Even with interest rates.
Listing agents are calling you back. Interest rates, what's interesting about interest rates, the last 6 recessions, the average interest rate has dropped 1.8% from the peak of that market. Meaning, to get out of the recession, interest rates always dropped. For example, they went from 2.5% to 6%. And then the last 3 weeks, they've dropped down to 5.5%. And they're predicting they're going to go down to 5% in the next 6 months. So rates always go up, they go down, you refinance, and you go into a lower rate.
So now let's flip your coaching hat. Now you're dealing with sellers who, I'm seeing a lot of sellers now not a lot, but they're putting their homes on the market at prices that maybe at one time you would have been somewhat palatable a year ago or 8 months ago. And today they're putting it on and they're not selling. And they're like, huh? Like, what are you telling those sellers? And how do you educate them?
Yeah, we use data. So we have, everyone has property websites for their properties. We can actually look at the repeat visitors. And if it's 12% or higher on repeat visitors, they probably priced it right. If it's typically 6% or less on repeat visitors, and if we're not getting a lot of second showings, then we know we need to pretty much reduce that price. So what we say is we don't want to have a death by 1,000 paper cuts. We don't want to be dropping the price 20, 50,000 every 4 weeks. So, because you really are going to be chasing the market downward.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're going to make the reduction, make it quick, swift, painful, and do it. Because if someone was willing to write an offer within 3% of your property price, your list, they would have already done it.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm really optimistic. I think agents need to get back to the basics. They need to have a really good CRM. They need to have really good follow-up. They need to make sure, they call the A leads, the active leads that are ready to write offers and show properties, need to call them weekly. The B leads or hot prospects every 2 weeks, and the nurture leads typically once a month. You need to make sure you got to do it like clockwork. And you need to have a top 50 of your best referral sources. You need to be following up with those on a regular basis. So it's really it's working a muscle that a lot of top agents maybe aren't really used to working.
Yeah, getting back to basics, the
Getting
fundamentals.
back to basics. That's exactly right.
And I think markets like this over the last 5, 10 years have, a lot of people didn't have to learn or didn't have to practice fundamentals, and now you're going to need to, or you're going
Yeah.
to feel it a lot more.
No, 100%. So, and you've been in a couple recessions, you
Yeah,
know
I
that.
mean, let's the gray hair and the thinning, that's where it's from, right? Maybe the three
Yeah.
kids too, but yeah, I mean, look, there's money to be made in every market, but I think you got to be sticking to fundamentals and whatever it is. And you hit on a point that, look, no one agent is the same. Everyone does it a little different, but then we're also not reinventing the wheel. It's, how many people you
Right.
getting in front of, and how authentically are you connecting, and how consistent are you doing that? I mean, it's the
Yeah.
basics. It's sales. It's what we
We
do.
love Keeping Current Matters, and you probably are familiar with that site. We love it. And comes out the 10th of every month. For anyone listening, if you haven't looked at it, the data, the slides, the content, it's really, really amazing. And it helps to educate your clients on what's happening in the market. And usually knowledge is power, and they're going to feel more comfortable. This is literally one of the strangest recessions we've ever had. And the definition of a recession is typically when you have 2 or more months of slowing GDP. And people don't realize 2020, we had a recession. It was a very, very small one. They all remember 2008 to 2011, but 2020, we actually had a slow recession. But what they don't really, realize is knowing the data and understanding the data. And the dichotomy with this market, every other recession we've ever had in the last 100 years, there's been an increase in inventory. Every single one. This is the only recession that we've ever seen where the number of properties on the market is the lowest anyone's ever seen. So while things are slowing down, affordability is crazy. We can't afford homes. Interest rates are going through the roof. We're not seeing more inventory because people who locked in at 2.5%, they go, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to go buy something at 5.5% interest rate, and there's no inventory to buy. What am I going to buy? So we have this log jam of not enough properties on the market. So
Yeah, the supply demand is really propping up this market. There's just
it's
not
really
enough good
propping
product.
up
I mean, you
100%
you tell
propping
me,
it.
if you have a $10 million done home in the Riviera or Brentwood Park, 5 bedroom, and you put it on the market today, how quick is that going to sell?
Yeah, Gary Keller had a quote last week. He said it's the oddest market he's ever seen, and he's been around, 40 some years.
It's
And
schizophrenic.
I concur that.
Yeah, it's hard. I've seen stuff where a house has multiple offers and a block over in the same week, nothing. I mean, I've experienced
Right.
that. And then I've seen good neighborhoods like Brentwood Park, and boom, right away it sells at a record price. So there's no way to real pinpoint what's going on, but you've hit on a lot of it.
And it's really to educate our clients, right? Educate our agents, educate our clients, and just communicate with them on a regular basis that this is what's happening.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
tell us your crystal ball. How do you see the LA West Side prime market playing out over the next 12 months to 24 months?
I mean, what's interesting, no one saw a market turn as quickly as this one. And I think part of it is the media and how quickly, like the media will come out with an article last week saying foreclosures are up 100% because it was 110,000 last year, and this year it's 220,000.
It went from one to two houses.
100%. And then you really look at the data and you go, well, wait a minute. In 2008 and 2009, foreclosures were at 1.9 million. So let's put this in perspective.
Yeah, then micro market, how many in Brentwood Park? It went from one to two, if that.
Yeah. So I think if people look at the data closer, but the problem is, like, a story came out 2 days ago and it said in the last month, home prices have dropped, 1 or 2%. They took 1 month worth of data. You're supposed to take 6 months. You're supposed to take a quarter. You're supposed to take a year. So I think it's going to turn quicker than people thought. Low inventory is going to keep prices pretty stable. I don't see a depreciation right now until we get more inventory. So I think it's going to be a pretty flat market appreciation wise. We may see 3%, 4%, 5% appreciation over the next couple of years. But it'll be,
by the way, is average.
More balanced market.
Yeah, more balanced market. Those are average numbers,
Right.
3%, 5% historically. And you mentioned something that, you get listing agents calling you back and responding to your offers. I mean, that would be fabulous. We've been in this weird twilight zone of where, you have $1 million cash, close, no contingency over the list price, and you don't get a call back. Like, can we get back to decency, some normalcy, and let buyers think more than 1 minute, where they don't have to write the minute that hits the MLS?
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and
thank you for sharing with us.
Fantastic show. So.
I appreciate it. You're a true pro, and it's great to have you on. And you're the real deal. So I'm glad we had you on the deal. But all right, have a good weekend. Good rest of your summer. We'll see you soon in the streets. Thanks, man. Take care.